All right, so welcome back. Welcome back. This is my favorite place. To the Women Like Code Python track. This is the LeetCode study group. This is the last section. My name is Karen. I'm one of the moderators for the study group, and we have Chethana and our instructor for the series. Chethana, off you go.
Thank you so much, Karen. Welcome everybody to our final session of the LeetCode study group. Today, we're not going to be doing any coding. We're just going to be looking at some thoughts that I had when I was, when I was struggling, or when we all struggle. We're still continuing to struggle, but it gets slightly better. Not to start off on a note of pessimism, but just wanted to share some thoughts and questions that I had when I was, when I was starting, and questions I've seen when anybody's problem solving. And then a couple of resources for the patterns. And then we have a lot of time for Q&A. So definitely feel free to ask about anything pertaining to interview prep. And then like applying to jobs, like interviewing and like practicing, whatever you want. Even general questions are welcome. So definitely feel free to ask those. Let's get started. First thing that everybody says when you start, where exactly do I start? Like, because there are so many things that intimidate us. There's like this whole, like, there are these competitive programming platforms like HackerRank and like LeetCode, and like I think there's like CodeChef, Code Wars. There's like so many out there. I don't even know at this point, but with all of that, and like how does it tie into preparing for an interview if you have like a phone screen, or you have like a coder pad kind of interview where you have to where they post a problem and you like have to solve it. How do you begin to prepare for something like that? Because you need to have a plan in mind, right? I would say definitely when the first thing that it hit me, it didn't strike me initially, didn't I mean, it wasn't intuitive to me initially, but like I would definitely say make a list, plan, like actually sit and plan, like don't I've seen many people start to do this, and I have done this as well. Just start off, open up any of these things, and then look at a problem, feel that you're not able to solve it, get demotivated, go in a downward spiral, and that's just like a repetitive situation. So I would just say list down all the data structures and algorithms. I've made like a list like this. I'm not good at spreadsheets, but like I try. It's just like we need some kind of way to keep track of what we know, what we're really bad at, what we feel like we can, we can wing it. We need to have like a metric for that. So just I've listed down some of these like data structures and like algorithms and patterns. And then do you mean like, Gloria, do you mean like a plan, or like the list, like which exact part do you mean?
Oh, I can post.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've linked it here, but Karen will post it. This is, you'd be able to view this, just make a copy of it or something like that, and then just start doing your own thing. Definitely make sure to like note down whatever you see. This is a combination from what I saw on LeetCode, specifically in this area. This is like the problem section in LeetCode, right? And then these are like the patterns they think are, these are like problem tags. So if you have a problem doing like it's basically array manipulation and stuff like that, then that would come under arrays. But the same problem might also come under like any of the algorithms in here. Like they could, like if it's a string problem, it could come under sliding window, or like, you know, it could be like a multiple situation, multiple tag kind of situation. But I took it from, I took it from what I see here, what I saw a lot when I was starting out, like the basic data structures you have to know to really get out there and start experimenting, right? So I put those down, some patterns and algorithms. Well, I say algorithms and patterns because backtracking is not like just like a pattern. It's like a traditional algorithm that you learn about in like, I don't know, like algorithms classes and stuff like that at school, or like if you take like if you take any course online with a professor who teaches computer science, they would talk about this algorithm. But if you look at things like two pointers and sliding windows, they're like approaches to solving a problem. So something like that. And these are just like random things that I put down, like how comfortable am I in solving problem types like this. So for example, you may be good at array problems, but what exactly are arrays, right? So if you have arrays here, they could also come under one of this. So you need to be able to discern or see what works best for you. For me, I really personally like going deeper and deeper into a problem and solve, like into a pattern or like a data structure, and solving more and more problems of that type, and then coming back out and thinking, okay, now I have a grasp of that. So I'm gonna, like, suppose if I don't know, I forgot to add hash maps. Oh, okay, that's just sad. Should do that. I'll just write down here hash maps, or I could show you my Excel like spreadsheet skills and do the whole insert row or something like that. Yeah, I'll add it later. But you can add whatever you want, and then suppose you're good at linked lists already, like you can solve pretty much any kind of linked list problems out there. You could definitely put yourself as comfortable in this situation, right? And then next thing that I wanted to talk about that I wish I'd known before was creating these helpful lists on LeetCode, right? Like, how do you create a list? So if you go to any problem, let's see, this is my favorite problem in the world. It's called twosome. So in this, if you go into, where is that? Yeah, if you see this, it says add to list, and I don't have a list already. So if I could just create, okay, I have arrays. You could add this to arrays, and then click on done maybe, and then you could go back to, I don't know, you could go into arrays. You could see that you have twosome within it, right? So you can make your own list maybe, and like you could add that here, right? Just to keep track of whatever you've been doing or whatever you've been tackling with respect to these arrays. So that's something you could try as well. There's so many ways you could try to start planning these things, and then just some notes. But definitely, like, you could like keep adding to this list whatever preferences you want, like whatever matters to you pertaining to each data structure. Maybe you could add implemented like from scratch on your own, a column for that, right? Like, did I do it or not? It's your own thing. So try that, something like that. And then also think about, so this is just like this particular thing is just to assess if you're good at something or not, or embracing that you may not be the best at everything. And that's very helpful and important, because it's important to ground yourself in when you're preparing for an interview, right? Like, even when you have a problem you've never seen with like some kind of obscure kind of algorithm that an interviewer throws at you, you should be able to be human to them, right? Like, just really open up, that because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a teammate who can yeah, hash maps are like everything, you know, just use hash maps. If you don't know if something fits into it, just think of a hash map. But yeah, so always just they're looking for teammates who can learn and ask questions and accept if they don't know something and know when to like ask for help and stuff like that. That's what they're trying to see. Most companies, they don't want you to fail. They want to be able to be be your partner in that pairing exercise, right? They usually say pair programming, so something like that. Yeah, so I don't know why I went into that tangent, but now that we've oh yeah, I was talking about embracing what your strengths and weaknesses are, and it's okay. It's not like it's a big deal. It's just a bunch of problem solving stuff. But yeah, make a list, look at that list, see where you stand or where you have to improve. And then also next you start planning, right? Like what kind of things can you how do you actually plan to do something like this? Always think about what appeals to you more. What kind of learning always helps you in the long run? This is super subjective. It's you can't, like, there are these lists online. They're like, oh, 10 days to 7-day cram session, like before an interview. I don't put down resources like that because of course they may help to fast fast track some stuff along, but it's just it's just not it's putting so much of pressure on an individual who's trying to really learn and get out there. So definitely don't go into things like that. Always figure out what kind of learning suits you best. Do you learn on the go, like, okay, I'm gonna pick up a tree problem today and then work on it, and then next I'm going to go into this dynamic programming problem, I'm going to try that, and if I don't know it, I'll learn the solution, I'll get that tool into my head, not memorize the solution. And then if I see similar problems of that same nature, I'll know that I have to apply it there. Never just look at it and be like, oh, okay, I understood this. It's never going to be the exact same problem in an interview. There, most of the times it is, but the follow-up questions really definitely get weird for interviews. So if you don't look at a problem intuitively, you cannot be able to solve that follow-up question. Yeah, talking too much. This is like my favorite kind of session, just like talking, so okay, so what kind of learner you are? Do you learn on the go? Do you like gaining skills in one area and then getting super, super deep and then going into the next topic, something like that? Okay. And then once you figure that part out, if you want to do many people say, do you want to do a depth first search or a breadth first search on this? So again, if it's a depth first search, you go deeper till you hit leaf node, right? And tree. In case of a tree. So the same thing applies to a topic, but the weird thing is you can never feel like you know something front and back and like every kind of problem out there. Maybe a couple of months, but it just definitely feels like you could give it maybe 2 weeks or something like that for a data structure, and then come rotate it with another data structure, and then a third, and then come back to this. So you could have like fixed iterations for them. If it's a breadth first search, just goes like you pick something, you solve it for some time, and then you look at the next one, and then you keep rotating like that. But for me personally, I really like it when I go deeper and deeper into the same kind of data structure and then doing it. Okay, so this plan that you have, it definitely will change. Like it's gonna change in like maybe a month or so. I think a month and a half, you'll feel like, oh, I don't feel like this is working for me anymore. So what do you do now, right? You just that's it. You just have to change it according to what you feel at that moment. And it's fine. Like initially we didn't have that much input. Suppose you would have thought that, okay, dynamic programming is so hard and I would definitely need like a month to work on it. And you figure out that it's not that, difficult after all. For some reason, you get your intuition is really, really good when it comes to dynamic programming, and you didn't know that before because you didn't explore it before. So that definitely changes. And so keep iterating, keep incrementally changing things, but definitely don't do this thing where like I used to do that. I would just be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this today, and I would start something, and then the next day I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then change now and then. Try to stick to what you're doing for at least like a week, see if it works. If it doesn't feel like it's effective enough, then maybe try something else, right? There's no like shortage of resources online for something like that. So definitely feel free to like look online for these things. I have a couple of like links at the end that I'll show you. But yeah, and also something that you could keep in mind, you could start doing these problems directly in all of these platforms. Just choose like easy problems and stuff like that and do it. Or you could start implementing them from scratch. So if you have a stack, what are the common things or common operations for a stack? You have push, pop, and top, right? Like you could ideally create your own class with these operations, and then you could create an instance of that class, and that would be your stack, and then that stack could do whatever you want, right? So really, really going down and like implementing that on your own. This happened to me for a linked list, for a tree. I kind of went through all the data structures and I literally broke them down and solved them first. Like, and again, you don't have to know them. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, okay, I just like, I'm not able to like do this on my own. It's fine. Just like look it up. And then if you just try to get the intuition of what they're doing, whichever language you pick. And definitely, I forgot to add that here, but there are these like, I think that there were like a couple of questions in general where everybody was confused about what language to pick when you start when you want to do these kind of interviews. It really doesn't matter. Like, it definitely doesn't matter, for the sake of like, because this is a women who code Python group, I'm really comfortable in solving them in Python. I did them in Python. So whoever, like, whatever works for you, that's it. But like, I've been on either side of the table, and I've never wanted candidates to like focus on one language, and neither did any of the senior engineers where I've been at. So definitely depends on what you want, whatever floats your boat. And then always remember, like, whatever I'm saying here, they're just suggestions. You can feel free to like change it, alter it. It's like whatever you want to do. These are just like some thoughts in my head when I started, and like some thoughts that I wanted to share in case anybody was completely lost, didn't know where to go, that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm gonna open up the yeah, I'm gonna get to the Q&A in like a little bit. Before that, I'll quickly go over some of these other things that I thought. Okay, one more quick suggestion. Whenever you're solving a problem, right? Always look at the time and space complexity of it. Like, when I say look, I mean like really think about it. So if you and this intuition, it should happen when you look at these built-in Python functions as well, because suppose you would suppose you have like a string or like a word or something, right? If within like a list of words or something, and then you're going to have to find some letter within that word that you're choosing currently, which means you would iterate over that word entirely, right? So you'd be like, if this character in this current word do something, right? So you're going to be iterating this in keyword. It's not going to just give you like constant lookup time. So it's going to go over the entire characters in your current word and then give it to you. So like going in depth, this in is just like a normal keyword in Python. You just use it everywhere, and it's time complexity you would definitely have to keep in mind, right? So sometimes, what if you have like some kind of target, and then you'd have to do like another iteration through your array, so that becomes n squared, right? If you're doing like if you pick an element and then you're doing like 2 nested loops within it. So, or if you just do like 1 loop and then you use the in keyword, it's still going to like, mostly it's still going to be 2 passes, and it's still going to be n squared. And you really, really have to like account for things like that, because when you're writing code in like for like, if you're writing code to be pushed to prod, or like your production environment, you have to think about the performance of what you write and things like that. So definitely always keep that in mind. And then, oh, oops, okay. I think I went back too much. Awesome. So what about like, for example, one pass over the input, or sometimes in the worst case in an input would be O of n. And then this could be an array. And then in a tree, mostly like it's like you have to traverse all of the nodes in the tree to do something most of the times. And that is definitely going to be an O of n for sure. And then something else added on top of that, right? If you have to traverse it twice, then it becomes O of n squared. And then this is not just like, you have to think about, if you're doing tree problems, then there's an additional overhead. If you're doing it by recursion, whatever you're using, there's an additional overhead of O of n, because you need to store the visited nodes somewhere. Like if you use recursion, then you would need to account for the call stack, the recursion call stack. And that is also an O of n, because you go all the way to the leaf node. Once you hit the leaf node, you return, which cascades, and like, yeah. So definitely like think about those things. And then when I started, I was looking at the big O notation section and cracking the coding interview. I am sure you would have read about this book everywhere. Everybody talks about it. And I think it's like this particular section I really, really liked, because the way it was laid out was really helpful to me to understand, just taking notes in it. And then pretty soon we start thinking about these things in like time and space. We wouldn't know when it happens, but like someday randomly we'd be like, oh, but that's O of n time, and then we'd feel really, really happy because we got to this point, right? So yeah, that I just want to mention that. And also if you're looking at like if you're looking at a problem, definitely look at like the LeetCode discussions for that particular problem, and like other possible solutions for the problem. If the problem doesn't have like a premium thing, if you have a premium subscription or something like that, just go with that. But yeah, awesome. So this was like my number one at the time. How do I stop feeling nervous at these interviews? And definitely feel free to add any additional questions you have in the Q&A button or in the chat, so that we keep an eye on them. So for this particular thing, like, this was the one thing that we need to start thinking about, is why exactly are you nervous like during these interviews? Is it because you may not have seen that problem or that data structure or something like that? Or is it because you knew it and you've already seen it before, but somehow you just froze, and it happens. It definitely happens. Like, so what is it, right? Identify that, and then if it's the first one, you may need more practice, right? Just keep practicing, and you become good at it. Just remember that the more you practice, the more you become good at these things. And it's like the when somebody says practice, practice, and practice, and like I used to, I never used to, like, it was just too much for me initially. I would be like, oh God, I can't do this, and it definitely helps. Like those muscles, those problem solving muscles in your brain, they get so like activated when you keep practicing, and then pretty soon it just becomes like second nature to you. Like LeetCode easy problems, it started for me, it started from, I'm comparing this to mine because these are just like my opinions. There's no like fixed standard for any of this. So for me, like starting off, it was like maybe like a day or two for an easy problem, and then it became maybe an hour or half an hour or less than that. So it depends. It really depends on how much work you do, how often you study, or like stuff like that. So practicing. And then second thing is if you've seen something before and you're somehow getting stuck, then maybe try to do more mock interviews, and maybe see if that helps ease the pressure. You can also like there are like many mock interview platforms out there. Like I usually suggest PRAMP. People say PRAMP and I say PRAMP. But yeah, so I've left that description, like that link in like a later slide. Definitely check it out. And then this one's like somebody was asking in our Slack workspace about like online assessments and what's like that they were having a lot of difficulties with them. So like I left a couple of thoughts in there. So in case you wanted to like check it out, definitely do. And yeah, that's that. Okay, so this one's another one. Like a problem may have like, I don't know, like easily like 15 or so ways, or not 15, but may have at least more than 2 or 3 ways. So what can you, like, how do you actually start doing this? And what do you, like, how do you choose what to showcase? Or if you've seen a problem already, or if you haven't seen a problem, what do you think the interviewer expects? Really depends. First of all, on the interviewer, because like if it's a super difficult kind of problem that like even the brute force is barely enough, then yeah, you're good to go. But for generally this kind of thing is like, maybe if you take two sum or something like that, like some kind of problem, any problem, you start off with, even when you're practicing, look at it and really think about, what is the simplest way I can do this problem in, like what, like maybe I loop through it twice or thrice, who cares? It's a brute force approach to you. And brute force is not a standard, like not everybody follows the same brute force. Of course, like in LeetCode and many of these like problem solving situations, there's like this common brute force solution that people follow, and that's fine. Like if you see a problem for the first time and you're not able to think about a brute force, and you look up the solution, definitely revisit that problem again later on to see if you can think of another one, right? So yeah, what I'm saying is start off with the brute force in some way, either look it up or just like if you can think of the bare minimum, do it, and then see if there's anything. Once you're done with that, once you feel like, okay, like this works in some way, and then look at what can you do more, right? Like see if you can maybe use extra space and reduce time complexity. Is that okay with the interviewer? Check with them, like talk to them about trade-offs, because that's important too, right? So if they feel like you should not use any extra memory, then you have to go with increasing the time complexity. There's no like, for certain problems, there's no workaround there. So yeah, think about that. And then when this is for an interview, but when you're practicing, think you would sort of need to think of every trade-off on your own. Think about maybe what can I do here to reduce the time, and why do I need an additional list here? Why can I not, like, why do I need a hash map when I can try this? Try to reduce your space from oven to like a constant space. Like, for example, there are multiple problems that say, oh, we just use, like, the input only consists of lowercase English letters. Then if you need to find out the counts of every one of those, like if you need to find the counts of each of the letters in an like maybe in a string or something, then you just need to store like, you need to start off with like a character array of like count of 26, right? Because there's just lowercase English letters. They haven't even spoken about anything else. So 26, and then iterate over your string, and then start counting and adding. And this 26 character array that I'm talking about, it's constant space. Like, it's never going to change with the input. Your input can have, I don't know, like 1 character or 10,000 characters, but this space is just going to be 26. It's not going to change. So think of things like that. See if it helps to, helps you to solve your problem better. Okay, so that's something you have to do when you're solving a problem. Like every single possibility out there, think about it. And you don't have to think of every possibility at one go. You can revisit it again, right? Like, when you have a problem, if you see it the first time, you're always going to want to revisit it again, because revisit it, yeah, I don't have to say the again because revisit is already okay. Anyway, you don't have to you don't have to look at a problem and be like, I'm done with this, and just move on, because you will forget the pattern you saw there sometimes, unless you look at it again and then you think about a different way to solve that problem, make it better, right? So incrementally, we're born with, like, every human being has analytical skills on their own. So like in some way, in some form. So we will definitely increment on what we saw before. Even if we don't, we would definitely remember that pattern and look at it and make those intelligent connections with other problems. Like, so like, this is something that I read everywhere. It's purely my opinion, but yeah. So try something like that, and even if it takes you like a whole day for one problem, do it. You don't have to do like 5 or 6 problems per day or something like that. And if you read somewhere that somebody's talking about things like that, I would say don't take it to mind, because we all start somewhere. We all have like a pace to begin with, and then later on you can do more. Okay, so when you solve a problem, definitely look at the discussions tab in LeetCode for that problem, because they would have spoken about because it's other people who are learning problem solving like you are, and they would have they would have good solutions, they would have really inefficient solutions, they may have extremely good quick solutions. So look at things like that maybe, and definitely build on your own, build your tools up. And then yeah, so whatever type of solution you pick to solve a problem, it definitely is going to help you solve at least like 5 or 6 to 10 more problems of the same pattern. Like definitely remember that. Like that is so important, key when you're like looking at these problems, because it's just not for that one thing. And when you look at, like, you would have your own solution that's not there in anybody else's solution, or like LeetCode's own solution tab, and that would make you feel so like happy. Like, yeah. So definitely think about that. And then everybody says, like, I don't know, this is like super common in Reddit. If you haven't, like, I have like a couple of links later on for that as well. So it's like an online like community where there's like sub communities for like literally everything in the whole world. Or if you want like gardening related stuff, you have it there. If you have like LeetCode stuff, you may have it there. So yeah, this is really popular, two really popular subreddits called like CS career questions, and then there's this other one called CS majors. So these two are like primarily where like people talk about, oh man, I need to like, I'm not able to do 10 problems per day. What do I do? Those kinds of questions, you know? So I would say, like, I would reiterate whatever I was saying before. If you have, like, if you're looking at a problem, definitely look at it in depth, like look at it intuitively. Don't just look at it and be like, okay, I know the solution, I'm going to the next one, I'm going to the next one after that, and then so on and so forth, just to hit my 5-6 problems per day mark. But it really, this thing, like the looking at a problem intuitively, that is I think that is the most important. Whether you're solving like any number of problems per day, that really depends on you. Like for me, if I take a whole day to look at a problem, that's okay with me. Like you know, like if you're able to look at that problem really deeply, I definitely feel like the time spent on it is not, it's definitely negligible than when you have to look at it again and feel like you don't know it at all. You may feel that again, like maybe a couple of times, but there definitely is like a trace of whatever that problem, whatever you saw from that problem in your mind somewhere. So maybe when you see it again, you'd be like, oh, okay. Or maybe not, but it's fine. Like it may definitely alter the way you look at a problem, I feel. So yeah, there's also this thing where some folks say you have to solve 200 medium problems, or you have to like finish all the easy questions, and you know, things like that. And that definitely puts off somebody who's really starting new, and I'm not a huge fan of that at all. So you know, for somebody, it may, for like somebody who's done a lot of, like they took, I don't know, like data structures courses, or like they've done it differently, maybe may take them like, you know, like 50 problems, or like some people may take 200 problems. It doesn't really matter. The count doesn't matter. It depends on how deeply you're learning it, so that you can apply the same thing to other things, right? So that's something that used to really drive me before, right? Like used to be like, oh no, I have to hit that mark. And then like as it went on, I thought maybe it's not a good rubric at all, and it needs to be told out loud. So yeah. And I 100% do not recommend pressurizing yourself with all of these. Like, you know, there are these a lot of these posts where people say like, you know, you have to do this, you have to do that. And nowadays it's becoming better, definitely better. So definitely don't put yourself in any bucket, or like don't feel like, you know, if you don't solve this, then you're not good enough. Everybody's amazing, right? Like we're all trying so hard to get to that point. So definitely don't, like, you know, like look at these things and feel low about stuff. This is just an interview. Yeah. you're amazing. Okay. One more thing is like, if you have a problem, maybe you don't know that problem and you have to look up that solution, it's fine. And then you look at another problem, it happens again. It happens again for maybe 10 consecutive problems. If you're starting new, maybe 3 months, 4 months, again, this is just my opinion. It really depends on everybody's like how much time everybody has to spend on like these kinds of studying, like for interviews kind of thing. Yeah, that was a huge sentence, but what I'm saying is really depends. But it's definitely okay to look at solutions. Like it's not like, you know, when you're practicing, you just like look at a problem and you know, like it's never going to be that easy. It's at least going to be a couple of months of hard work, like every day. I'm not talking about taking breaks. I'm talking about like every day, like working on these problems. It'll take you at least like 5 or so months. It may take you lesser, it may take you more. But there's no fixed thing where you know you're not supposed to look at these problems. And like I've also seen, like for me, I don't like to look at a problem and just sit there. You know, I will give myself maybe, I don't know, 45 minutes or like an hour, depending on who I am. Like if I feel like I'm not going to get this in an hour, you know, then I may not get it at all for maybe 3 hours or something like that. Uh, Cindy, I'm not sure I understand your question. Could you elaborate? Yeah, while Cindy elaborates. So it doesn't, okay. Solutions to,
I think Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think she is asking if
okay.
like if she doing solving a problem, is she on the right track? Like she's like, the lost, like she has her own thought, but then like is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? Um, my like I think as a beginner, I will put it in that way. There's no right or wrong, first of all. Is really about how you solve the problem. But like Chella mentioned in the couple slides before, they're like multiple problems to solve, to solve it. Like sorry, all of the solutions to solve one problem. So you have your way. It might be different from the others, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. It also compared to like how after you solve the problem, let's say you get what is expected from the problem, the solution expected from the problem. You look at the time complexity, like Chella mentioned, like to see how to optimize this, how to optimize your stuff. um if you lost in the middle, like if you don't know where to start, if you're on the right track, you I think for the first couple of times, I think you can cheat a little and look at other solutions. Challenge me, correct me if I'm wrong. You can take a look at the solution first, get a reference how other people do it, and then get a hang of it. And then like I think with time, like you will be more familiar and like just like kind of like merge, like it's like muscle memory, kind of merge yourself. Oh, okay, this is how the way to do it. So that is my way of interpreting if I am on the right track. I were you. Let us know if that's the the problem, but the question you're asking, and maybe channel you can elaborate a little more
Yeah,
if
yeah, I definitely agree with what you said. Like I definitely feel like sometimes it's glorified, that, you know, when you look at it, like, I don't know if it's like, I don't know why, but it's in the minds of certain people, including me, that when somebody mentions a way to solve a problem, and you have another way, and you feel like, I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or what it is, but I definitely feel like, oh no, the second they see that problem, they're going to solve it really, really quickly, and I'm going to be the one who's like staying behind, or like I'm not good enough, and all of that just starts coming in. And also, if you don't, if you look at a problem and if it isn't straightforward in your mind that you like that you can solve it in some way, definitely, like Karen said, look at other people's solutions. It's fine. It's totally okay. We need to like really like normalize this. That everybody doesn't just like, even the people who you feel like they know those problems, they would have struggled a lot to get there. They probably are not talking about it, in social media or whatever. But everybody struggles, so it's definitely okay. And it's definitely okay no matter how many times you see a problem and you're not able to get it. Like, think about, okay, what's next, right? What can I do to make sure I understand this current pattern, or like the pattern within this problem? Like, does visual aid help me? Like, am I this person who likes listening to things? Like, do I have to make, I used to do this thing where I used to record the way I looked at a problem and then revisit it later on. I also made sure, like, I would also take notes, like visual notes, to really get, like, when I get back to that problem again, when I see those things, I would, like, it's my own notes and my own voice, so I would definitely make that connection. So yeah, that's something like that. And there's this thing where, some people, it really depends. Some people like to look at a problem and actually like marinate on it for like 2 or 3 days and come up with it on their own. That's definitely like, that's not me, but that definitely helps as well, because that muscle, the more it's like, the more it the more you practice it, that becomes really, really like uh becomes easier, is what I would say. But definitely
A
give yourself
habit.
that time. Yeah, it becomes a habit. Yeah, but definitely give yourself that time. It's okay. That struggle is important. It will definitely shape the future, um, for you, like, when you solve a problem, in that terms. So like, if you see a problem, immediately don't jump into the solution. That part alone, I would say, maybe like, unless you've never seen any of those kind of problems before, then it's fine. Like, if you're just starting for the first time or something. But if you feel like, okay, like, if there's some thought in your mind that says, okay, I think I need to like give it like 5 minutes or so, do it. Like, spend that time, see if there's any chance you like understand, or like you feel like you understand how to solve it, and then like look at the solution and so on. But like, uh give treat yourself with kindness when it comes to things like this. Don't bash yourself up for not like knowing the solution to a problem. It's like a random problem, so it's not something that you should beat yourself up about. It's just the norm of the tech industry to do these kinds of interviews. So um and it's changing. There are like online assess, like they're like take home assessments and stuff like that too. But just, yeah, like, be really kind to yourself when you're doing these kinds of interview prep stuff, because I definitely wasn't. Like, I used to, like, every single time I would tell myself that I was not good enough. It was like, it was like this really weird phase I was in. But yeah. And then as you go down, as you keep solving more and more of these problems, um definitely, like, like, you will start to see these patterns. That's literally the reason why we're doing this study group, because we have to remember that as you do like maybe 15 of these problems, or 10 or 2 or whatever the count, you will see these patterns and you will get better at them. And um if you're this person, I like if you're like super lazy to do these problems, definitely try doing them in a mock interview setting where you're forced to not look at a solution. Like, you can't look at a solution. You just have to try and do it on your own. So yeah, so like something like that. I'm going to move to the next slide because I've been talking for a while for this one.
Sorry, Shannon, I just want to jump off.
Yeah.
So Mattel, just want to quickly answer Mattel's question. Sorry, Mattel, my apology. I know a couple of you are actually new to their, like, this is the very first section you join. We very happy to have you here, first of all. We're happy to join the big family. So if, like, first thing first, join us on Slack. We do everything on Slack, and we as resources we communicate to Slack. So Mattel, if you this is the first time join us, please join the Slack first. There you will find a lot of like materials, like you will find all the materials you need, like you put in the recordings, and then we will have the GitHub repository as well, so for you to go through the previous like materials. So like, but then like you can, like, you know, if you don't join us on Slack, we'll lose tension. Like, we can help, definitely ask us any questions like on Slack. We are more than happy to help you to, you know, grow together and study together. Sorry, go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, so like Karen said, definitely feel free to join the Slack, ask any question you want, and like, yeah, they will talk there. Awesome. So like, this is just like random stuff that I put in because like I was feeling motivational when I was doing, like when I was prepping the slide. Like, how do you, like, this happens for the Slack group that we're going to be posting. That's just our Women Who Code Python Slack group, Shireen.
Maybe I can elaborate a little bit. So the thing Stephanie posts is directly to the LeetCode study group channel. So like you join us for the particular study group, but then like the whole channel, like the whole, how do I say that? Like we have like this sub channel, and then we have the Slack group is for Women Who Code Python. So we mainly focus on big, like the title said of the track name. We mainly focus on Python stuff. Python 2 database. So we have a very excited series coming up, which is like which IDE to use to practice Python, to do Python on, and we have a lot of amazing other like 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 materials talk about Python as well. So like that's when you join us, you get everything about Python and the LeetCode study group. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, so this thing you can apply to any problem, like any kind of data structure or algorithm that you're going to be, you know, trying to solve. If you're doing like okay, I'm going to spend like a week or 2 or a month to solve this problem, you know, something like that. I used to hate, like hate is a strong word. Yeah, actually hate. So I used to like really hate tree problems, like binary trees, or like, you know, any kind of traversals. They were like the worst in my head. And then soon enough, they became like the easiest ones that I could ever pick up. So like something that really, like, you know, opened that up for me was doing these problems not recursively but iteratively, and doing tree problems iteratively using a stack for depth first search and a queue for like breadth first search, and solving these problems, they really unlocked what like, you know, what I actually wanted to see, but I couldn't see in recursion. Like sometimes you just have to trust that recursion works, right? Like you can really sit and like outline. You can do it. You can, but if there are like 100 nodes, like you can't sit and work out each iteration. I mean, like the same thing goes for like any iterative approach, but like it really, for some reason, it opened up my mind to, like, you know, for example, if you're doing like a depth first search, like a in order depth first search, so left node, root, and right node. So how do you do that, right? When you do an iterative, you know, iterative depth first search, in order depth first search, you go all the way to your leaf node, like you literally populate the stack. Like you populate the stack, and once you hit the leaf node, you come out of it, and then every time you'll pop out of that same stack, and then you'll visit that node's right as well, like the right child as well, and then you do whatever you want. It'll be like left and then node and then right and so on. But I was able to see everything more clearly, and that's something that you have to like think about, like what kind of things does this help me unlock? What kind of other problems can I solve with this? And like doing it that way, and then looking at recursion, I was like, oh, now I get it. So you need something like that, like a click or something. So yeah, that helped me a little bit. And then I practiced for like a week or two, and like every day I would like sit and like do like a couple of problems. Sometimes I just did like one problem, but I started with all of the traversals first, and then doing each traversal both iteratively and recursively. And before that, start create a tree data structure on your own, like create the root node. And what does a node have? It has three properties. It has the value, it has the left child, and it has the right child. Create a class for that for each node, and then link those nodes together, right? And then create like methods for your like insertion, and like inserting a node into the tree and deleting and like whatever you want, like printing, traversals, like do all of that manually, like from scratch. And then once you do that, you definitely would like you'd feel like, okay, now I got like the grasp of this. And then you go into your problems, and it becomes the easiest thing, definitely. And like the more you like, I don't know if I've spelled practice wrong now. Like I'm thinking about it. Is it supposed to be SE or CE? Is practice a noun here? Oh, I don't know. It's just let's just forget that. But okay. Great. So one more thing that everybody talks about. What about dynamic programming? What why is it so difficult? It's actually like I'm not too good at it, honestly speaking. Okay, thanks, Shireen. Yeah. I'm not like too good at dynamic programming kind of problems, but this is something that like I started to do it this way. So it definitely helped me. I wouldn't say I'm the best, but it definitely helped me. So start off by doing like basic plain recursion, like any traversal or anything like that. And then try doing backtracking kind of problems where every single iteration, you have to make a decision to either do this or do that, or, like add to your solution set or remove from your solution set, do all of that, like really, really dig deep into like the reason why we use dynamic programming, and like why the other methods don't work, like why they don't work for that problem in an optimized way. They work, but they're just exponential time and stuff like that. And that's not really ideal sometimes. If you have like better ways to do it, why don't we do it, right? So really understand why we're doing dynamic programming, and then what types of dynamic programming there are. Like I'm not putting like specific links for this, because anytime you search like dynamic programming like pattern in YouTube, or like just Google it, there's like, I feel like there's like a lot of people talking about it in LeetCode discussions, in Medium, in YouTube, and Reddit, and just like GitHub repositories. Like people are posting things like that. So yeah, so okay, so try learning what it exactly means, and then try looking at the types of dynamic programming, like memoization, like and like why we do it, and go deeper into that. And then start off with like LeetCode easies, maybe they're like tagged with dynamic programming. And this first thing, this climbing stairs, is like this was the first problem I tried with dynamic programming, and I really liked it. So like try that out maybe. And then for medium problems, I liked coin change. Like that was a really good starter for me. So try that out as well. And then when you like, there's like, again, there's like a lot of resources for dynamic programming. I think there's some YouTubers who literally made like a video just to explain templates. Just type like dynamic programming template in YouTube and you're going to get a lot, definitely. That's why I didn't leave any links, because it's out there everywhere. Yeah. Okay, this one is like this is like, everybody faces this, you know. So you feel you're starting, right? You've done some interview prep, I don't know, maybe for like maybe a month or two, and you've been you've not been doing too well in interviews. So what happens now? Like, and you feel really like mad at yourself, and like sad that you're not able to get it. And what, like, you feel like you're in this like dark space where you just don't feel like you can ever understand how to solve these problems. Like what happens? I would like this thing definitely helped me. It's very important to remember where you came from, right? You wouldn't know because you're incrementally improving every day. So in some small way, it doesn't have to be like a huge deal, like where you just feel like, okay, I saw this problem, I was not able to solve it the next day. But you would have developed, or you would have gained at least like some piece of information from looking up the solution for the previous, like the first time you saw it. Or like you're just you may not able to, like you may be, you already have the information in your mind, but you know, you're just not able to see it, you know. Definitely like take a step back when you're feeling this way. Take a break. That I forgot to include that, but take a break and you know, and look at where you've come from and how much you've changed, and keep tracking those things. Like, you know, like we just get into this thing where we feel like we haven't done anything, and we just don't, you know, we settle on the negatives and don't look at what we've done so far, right? So this really helped me. I read like when I was feeling the same thing, I like many people told me this. So yeah, and then celebrate your wins, definitely. And you know, this is just like a general tech interview kind of thing. I've this thing really helped me. You just need like that one yes, right, from them. Like you just need one yes, and then you'll get there. So for that job, like interview or like an offer. So remember that. And also like this thing, like I used to do that a lot. Like I would have like these, like wherever I'm sitting, I would surround my entire space with like sticky notes where I would say like really motivating things to myself. Like for when I was in a good mood, like I would just be like, okay, you did this, you did that, you're awesome, things like that. And I would write it down and I would stick it everywhere. And I would also like write things like, you solved uh you solved the backtracking problem on your own today, you know, like all of that. Every small thing, it helps. Keep it all around you, and every time you see it, I have those notes like even now, like I just have them bundled together somewhere, like for those days. But do that. And also like when you solve a problem, and even if you get really close to the solution or you have an idea about the solution, but you had to look up the solution, it's still a win, right? You need to remember these moments. So like put it down in your comments in that problem. Like I have so many problems like that already. Like just put down things like you almost solved this, you know, or like write down on your notes somewhere like that you got this almost, and like really take time and celebrate that. Okay. And then definitely take help from any communities out there, because when you're feeling demotivated, remember that there are other people like you who may be facing the same thing, and definitely reach out to them. We all need each other, right? So reach out to like anybody on our like Slack space. Like this is our like study group channel. Like go to that, talk about what you want. Just feel free to open up about anything. And there's no judgment anywhere. So definitely keep that in mind. Yeah. Other than that, these are just like some helpful like resources for when you're like looking. This post, it's like it says grind LeetCode. I'm just gonna get to this really quickly. It says LeetCode grinding guide, and like you have a lot of like, how do you do this, how do you do that, like where do you start, that kind of stuff. It's very helpful. I think many people have recommended the same thing a lot, so definitely read through this. It was super helpful when like I began do that. And then these two subreddits are like, I think this is where everybody speaks about interviews and like what's going on, that kind of thing. So join Reddit, or at least like look around these posts and stuff. Just Google whatever you want and like append Reddit to it, and you're gonna get a bunch of like answers. So do that. And then for like in YouTube, there are like, I think there are these like 7 or 8 like standard people who put in a lot of effort into doing these kinds of problems. If you probably just type, suppose you're doing the everyday LeetCode problem, right? And you want to look up how everybody else has done it, and you need like somebody to talk through it with you. Just type the problem's name in YouTube, and then just type LeetCode and with it, and then maybe the language you want it in. Python, I know a couple of people in mind for Python. Like there's like Java people, JavaScript. So like just type that out, and definitely at least there are like 5 or 6 people who would pop up who are regulars in doing this. So YouTube for that, and like like LeetCode has this bi-weekly and weekly competition stuff. Definitely join that. It's not like, even if you don't solve, they have like I think 4 problems or something every time. Even if you don't solve one, it's fine. Like you're just, the fact that you signed up for it and you went there and you attempted is a huge win, right? Like that's super important. That courage alone many people don't have. So like, again, celebrate those wins. Okay, and then cracking the coding interview, this is like everybody says it, and it's true. I cannot refute that this book is awesome, and definitely have a copy of that book and then look through it now and then. Especially for the big O notation, really recommend doing that. And Medium, like I signed up for like some recommendations and stuff. So like so many people talk about how I got into some bigger company's name, and then like how to crack any interview like thing. Yes, I'm talking as if I'm like sarcastic right now, but if you like, everybody has read through those things, and some of them have really good tips, even though they have those kinds of titles that I'm not a huge fan of. I really like the tips and like the way like they approach a problem, or they're like, I like reading their thought process to see what I can take out of it and apply to my own, make it better maybe. Yeah, so try doing something like that, and then literally type tech interview prep GitHub repo on like Google Chrome, or like Google search, wherever you want to do, not just Google, anywhere else. You would get like these huge like these links to repositories in GitHub where people literally put resources for tech interview prep. Like they put it on there, and it doesn't have to be just one. Like I don't have like one specific recommendation or something. Like there are tons of these, and you can pick and choose whatever you want. There's a lot of them. There's no like dearth of resources. So yeah. Okay. So one last thing, definitely do the everyday LeetCode problem. It will help with the confidence. They will shuffle it with like easy to medium to like hard or whatever. I really don't like the tagging sometimes on there, because some problems I would feel like, okay, these are not supposed to be mediums. And then some would be easies and I would feel like they're hards. So it's super subjective, and I don't know how they do it. Okay. I guess just sitting and working through this problem every single day, and like just putting the effort and time for doing this. It could take a lot of time, it could take very less time, depends. This will definitely help unlock more problems again, like, because unlocking problems and knowing more tools and like things to solve a question when you see it in an interview, that is super important, right? Like if you, like for me, I would say if I look at a problem brand new without even knowing any kind of pattern or intuition behind it, or like like if I've never even seen like a try problem, like a try data structure problem, if I see it for the first time, I would be like, I don't understand this, like I don't get it, and I don't know how to like do it. But if I had solved or started to see it somewhere else, and like I at least have the faintest idea of how to do it, I will have the confidence that I can pull it off, or I can talk to the interviewer, ask them questions, like make it a conversation, the same, like whatever we were discussing in all of those sessions before this, right? Like, and for all of that to happen, we need to make sure we're at that unlocking patterns kind of stage. So definitely do this, it will help you. And with that, we have some time for, very less time for Q&A. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's see. If a candidate is only able to come up with a brute force solution, is it a ding against them? I would say no, but because like for me, straight up, that's like the first response in my mind. There's also another part to that. If they come up with a brute force solution, and if they're if we nudge them towards like an optimized solution, but they're not getting there at all, like it feels like they have looked at that problem before, memorized it, and they've just put the same thing out there, whatever they've memorized, we would know straight away. And if they make no effort in trying to maybe ask more questions, or try to talk about what's blocking them in their mind, right? Like there were many times where like when somebody was solving a problem, I wouldn't even know what they're doing. Like there would be like they would be talking to themselves, I think, but I wouldn't really know what's happening in their mind. If they're stuck, I want to know. Like that's really like what my aim is. So if you're able to just come up with a brute force, and you're not like if we nudge you, and like you're not able to communicate at all, and it just feels like whatever you've done so far was something you memorized before or seen before, and there's like a lack of in-depth knowledge there, like of that data structure, or like of that problem in general, then it may be a little bit of a disadvantage for you. But yeah. And also some problems, there's just the brute force is the best solution, right? There's nothing better than that. So also depends on the problem, it depends on the interviewer, it depends on how you speak to the interviewer as well. So basically I narrowed it down to everything. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's my take on that. How do we demonstrate fluency in a given language during an interview? I know that candidates are assessed on that. I feel like this one depends a little bit. If you're going into like a startup kind of situation, like and they want you to know that particular, if there's like 2 team members or like 3 people in the team, and they want you to know the stack, right? And like they want you to know Python because they're building it with Python, and you have to be a key member in that team, then maybe they have some expectations. But like any mid-sized to higher level, or like even like anything that isn't like a very new startup, I feel like there's no like judgment or like any assessment based on, you know, language. You may come from a Java background, you may come from a JavaScript background, you may come from a Python background. Really depends on how fluently you're able to talk out loud, like talk about what's stumping you, or where you're stuck, and then kind of like, you know, kind of just knowing how to solve a problem in a specific way, knowing to take feedback that they give you and incorporate it in what you're doing. These are some of those key things that interviewers will see when you're solving when you're solving a problem. And there's also that thing where, you know, when you look at every, like all of those like edge cases, and you really talk about the approach that you want to take, right? Like what kind of approach do we want to have here? You know, like are we doing like, do we want to reduce space or time, or all of those things? Basically having a really good like conversation with them, and like to be able to show that you're really invested in doing this, and you know, you don't just start coding when you see something. That's also an indicator. But yeah, a couple of these things. I don't think I've not seen language being an issue, but yeah, it depends on where you interview as well, and also your interviewer. But I think where you interview is more like the clincher here. Okay, you mentioned about talking about time and space complexity when deciding on a solution with an interviewer, getting the okay before proceeding. Do we always have to ask about it in the strategy phase? Yes, short answer, yes. You have to talk about what the trade-offs are, why you're choosing something, how that will impact your decision. Like, why are you picking one approach over another? There's no like metric to compare, right? Like you, like suppose if you choose a hash map, why are you choosing a hash map? You have constant lookup time, you have constant insert time. So all of these things, like they're important to like for the interviewer to really understand that you know this in depth. So I would say definitely at least say it in terms of, oh, this may be slow, you know, and they'd be like, why would it be slow? And then you'd say, we'd have to like iterate over the entire input array. And then that would, you know, lead them to understand that you mean O of N. Okay, so something like that. Definitely talk about these things, I would say. Okay, and then a note about my practice versus practice. Thank you. Yeah. Is there any other question or something like that that I've missed, Karen?
I don't think so. Just maybe a couple reminder. So for the first time joining and the first time learner of these type of problem, if this is the very first one. So welcome. Remember to join us on Slack. Like I keep mentioning many times, because that's where everything is happening. If you want to ask us any questions, also a few of you actually asked, like, is there like more session on LeetCode or everything, or like another, like, you know, another study group. So for algorithm pattern problem specific, we don't have anything. This is the last session. We don't have anything so far, but we are definitely planning on having one, making one. After this section, we will be posting a survey to get some feedback from everybody. So stay tuned. Let us know how what you want to focus on, what you want to get practice on, and that's what I'm gonna say about
I think
yeah.
I think there's another question that was coming in the Q&A. I'll just quickly answer that, Karen, before, yeah, we're at the end of it, but yeah, just want to make sure I answer this. I'm a beginner to LeetCode. How much time ideally does it take to be a good performer in problem solving? It it is completely subjective, and there's no specific answer for it.
Honestly, it's hard to be
And
good.
yeah,
It's
it's
hard
like
to be good.
you can't. I feel like we're all like, I don't know
Learning.
if this is, yeah, like we're
Um,
learning, we're all good. We're
maybe
all really good at it. But
I kind of want to put it a little comment on like more like an answer on this question. Thank you for first of all, thank you for asking. You're actually probably representing a lot of people. Uh, to ask a question. So I appreciate your encouragement to ask this question. I'm very happy that you asked. So if you're new, like a beginner, um, I think don't force yourself because the beginning is actually a very difficult stage, especially you're not familiar with the question. You never learned it before. So maybe one or two, get a pattern, like get some time that everyone has, like don't force yourself, like I'm going to focus on 5 hours a day, unless you have an interview, like you need to focus. But if you're just doing it like tiny manner, just like maybe one or two a day, get a hang of it, get a practice. Oh, this is how it is. If you can't solve it, don't worry about it. Like we said, look at the solution, learn from the stuff. My motto is the sooner you see the problem, the earlier you solve it, because the problem is gonna keep coming up, and the more like the sooner you see this, the sooner you have a chance to deal with it. You have a chance to solve the problem. So, that's would be my recommendation. Don't scare of it. Just think of it as we will see this problem eventually. It's gonna come back. That's just like a nature. So don't scare when you don't need to scare when you see the problem and you cannot solve it. Like don't get discouraged. So after this kind of pattern, like don't force yourself. Like after this pattern, like maybe like a month or two, or like maybe a while, like Helen said, when you look back, you will be quite amazed how far you've done. Like it when you can solve the problem, but you look back that you've solved, like you actually get a hang of like quite a bit of at least certain problem already. So that's something uh like like I as myself would recommend if you are a beginner. Chandler, do you have anything to add on from this?
I definitely, like, I think you pretty much covered everything, Karen. So I would just like that one other thing where, like, it's um we always like need to remember. I'm just like reiterating this. We need to remember that we need to treat ourselves kindly, like during this whole process. Like, it's super important that your mental state is like, um it's not, you're not struggling with like balancing that and this, you're not trying to like tell yourself that you're putting yourself down on one side, you're trying to learn on the other side, and then those things don't go together. Like, if you have that mindset where, okay, I'm just learning now, it's okay if like it's just a problem, it's fine, it's just another day, it's another interview. Like, at that moment it would feel like it's the entire world, but look out of it and then really think about it and you'll be okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. And like quick links here. The usual stuff like the LeetCode study group repo, and then the REPL link for the previous sessions, and then the YouTube playlist for like the previous sessions. And then for like the mock interview situation, I put up a link to PRAMP. They have like a lot of like free sessions and like free interviews and stuff, and actually I think if you refer like 2 or 3 people to it, you get unlimited credits and you can just interview randomly with people. So I think it's that when I was trying to get some mock interviews in. And then LeetCode contests, definitely do them, even if you feel like you're not good enough, you're not ready enough. Doing them really puts you in that pressure, kind of like, it's helpful for online assessments, right? Like you have a timer going on and then you need to do this, and you're in that time crunch situation. You keep looking at that timer, you keep looking at your problem, and the same kind of situation you can get out of a LeetCode contest if you really like time yourself and all of that. And they also have a timer going on. So yeah, definitely do that. Even if you're not able to solve, like you don't have to be able to solve them immediately. You can just like try and then see in the future. And then what other? Yeah, I just like, for now, like we don't have anything planned for the next session. I think I just wanted to show these emojis off. So I wanted to move the slides around, but like, yeah, I think Karen, you can take us off from here.
Yes. So just a quick thank you for everyone here. So if you first time join us on social media, stay tuned for our posts. It's sad that yes, this is the last session, but like we are on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We are also on Slack. So remember to like follow us, and hopefully we see you guys in the future very soon. And I think that's about it today. We do have a couple of very exciting, very exciting events. So please join them. On like as Stephanie just post the link below. So please follow them. Please like sign up very soon. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye guys.
Thanks everybody for joining. Definitely message in the Slack group with any questions or anything like that. Thank you so much.